VikesNow, I am Dustin Baker. The January 22nd edition. Free agency is about, 50 days away. Legal tampering coming up. The team will change tremendously. But we're going to talk about some free agent items today, mainly Kirk Cousins. This is going to be kind of a controversial episode. I know there's a lot of folks that love Cousins and don't want to let us see him walk. So I'm going to start off by this little chat by a couple disclaimers offering those. This is not a prediction. I actually think the Vikings will probably bring Cousins back for a year or two. So, don't take away thinking Dustin Baker doesn't think it's going to happen. This is my argument for why it's time to move on. And this might surprise some because when I was embraced by this Vikings media community about, 5 years ago now, I was labeled a Cousins guy. And in reality, I like Cousins as much as I like Sam Bradford or Dante Culpepper or any Vikings quarterback. It's just because there were so many myths about him. Like, remember the dink and dunker, or he only was good in garbage time. And I started off this little career of mine debunking those myths, and then people just said that I was a Kirk stan or Kirk guy forever, and that I would cheer for Cousins over the Vikings when he left the team, all this stupid shit. No, none of that was true. To me, Cousins is just like the rest of the quarterbacks that the team has had since I became a fan, except for Jeff George. That is my guy. I'll always defend him to the utmost. But here we are, and the guy, Cousins, that is on the cusp of possibly leaving. So I'm going to go through the 10 arguments in my estimation why it's time to do that, to move on. The first, and a lot of these are self-evident, but these are just going to be itemized, and you can decide if you agree or not, is the injury. That's the biggie. The guy tore his Achilles, which isn't, just like a tweaked, sprained ankle or something. An Achilles is a big deal, and whether or not a player recovers from that fully is usually kind of a coin flip. These days with modern medicine, it's more likely that he'll be just fine. But the first big one is the brand new element that has entered the Cousins debate right now is injury. We never had that before. The guy was Iron Man. And then on October 29th at the Green Bay Packers, right when the Vikings season was starting to get good, they took a 24-3 lead over the Packers. Boom, Cousins tore his Achilles, and that was that. But unlike ever before, now the new item is whether or not they should bring Cousins back is the Achilles injury, and it's not a minor injury. And that is one of the reasons that they have to weigh, and you can decide for yourself whether or not you want to invest mucho dinero in an older quarterback who's coming off an Achilles injury. So that's number one, age. Number two is the risk of an age-related decline. Now, I know that we have become utterly spoiled as of late with Tom Brady playing until age 45. I challenge you to turn on a Los Angeles Lakers games and tell me where LeBron James has declined. You're not going to find anything. And he's 39. Rodgers will be back after a torn Achilles at age, he'll be 41 next November or December. So all of these guys we see, and we're like, yeah, the new breed of athlete can play forever, baby. No, that's just the greatest of the greats in Tom Brady and LeBron James. It wouldn't be weird one iota if Kirk Cousins showed up next September and didn't quite look like himself. This is the age, 36, 37, 38, where guys slow down, whether it's Roethlisberger, Rivers, Matt Ryan, Drew Brees, to an extent. He was 38, 39. But I want to caution anybody that's gung-ho about bringing Cousins back, which is fine. I understand the argument. I'll be happy if they do. I'll be content. I'll understand it, I should say. But this is the age right here and now where it wouldn't be weird if week 2, week 3, we're like, Cousins doesn't quite look the same. We'd look back and be like, yeah, the guy has a torn Achilles and he's 36-year-old. This is when the guys start to slow down. So that's the second argument, is the possibility of an age-related decline at any minute. The next is the budget. Now, the Vikings have to re-sign Justin Jefferson to a long-term extension. I'm thinking 4 years, $120 million. It might even be higher than that. And then Danielle Hunter needs a contract. If you don't sign him, then you need 2 edge rushers in a season where you claim that the rebuild part of competitive rebuild is ending. And then next offseason, Christian Darrisaw will be eligible. And I've read a couple articles on the internet from Vikings authors that says you can do it all. You can bring back Cousins, Jefferson, Hunter, and you're going to be just fine. And yes, you can do that this year, and everything will be hunky-dory. But no matter how you dice it, in terms of the budget, if you bring Cousins back, you are going to reduce the flexibility that you have to an extent this year in signing new impactful free agents, and more importantly, in the next 3 years. Because any argument that's like they can do it all, they can sign all these guys and bring Cousins back on top of it. Yeah, they can do it, but you're probably going to have to structure Cousins' deal where you're paying out, the rest of it in 2025, 2026, 2027 at a point where he could be long gone. So yes, I fully know that it is feasible to do it all. To sign Jefferson, to sign Hunter, to sign Cousins, and probably find some good free agents. But in terms of optimal budget planning and wanting to splash and get some big name free agents, I'm telling you, beyond the shadow of a doubt, your life is easier if you do not have to pay Cousins his 30 to 45 million, which wherever they meet in the middle, if they do. It's sheer math. Yes, it's possible, but if you want to enhance the roster and then, go out and draft your quarterback, I'm guessing that would be the plan if Cousins isn't going to be here, then you could get several free agents for the price of Cousins. So I think the budget is really all of that goodwill, that clout that we've had for the last year saying wait until 2024, wait until 2025, that's when the cap space is really available. That's under the pretense that Cousins probably won't be here because he automatically soaks at least $30 million from the salary cap, and it's probably going to be more than $30 million. The hometown discount that we love to talk about Cousins possibly taking is probably going to be like $35 million if he takes one at all. So I will say that, yes, there is a way to do it all for this year, but any more extensions for Cousins is probably going to kick that money. The $28 million that's on the books right now, the dead cap, you don't re-sign Cousins for $35 million this year, and then it's just an additional $7 million. You're on the hook for $28 million plus the 35, which means 63 altogether. And I think people don't know that. I think they see the $28 million dead cap on the books. That's a down payment. No, that's paying a bill that's already performed on the field. So in my opinion, the budget is easier to navigate if Cousins goes to the Falcons or Patriots or Steelers. All right, and this is probably the most important for me, the next one. First, you have the injury, the age-related decline, the budget. To me, the window is the precious thing. Above all else, the reason that I would endorse a Cousins divorce from these Vikings is, assuming you sign Justin Jefferson, you're going to have a very precious, very limited, about 4-year window where you can pair Justin Jefferson, Jordan Addison, TJ Hawkinson when he's back, and Christian Darrisaw. Who knows how long Brian Flores will be around as defensive coordinator, probably an extra year or two. But you're going to have, because of Addison's rookie deal, which is 4 years from right now, 4 more seasons, you'll have 4 years minimum to showcase Jefferson, Addison, Hawkinson, and Darrisaw on offense. I would rather draft the quarterback of the future now. Hopefully they get it right. That's all Vikings football matters right now, is whether or not they draft the right quarterback. I want that guy to start developing in this 4-year window right now. If you do the Packers plan, which a lot of folks are calling for, and I would support that, which is, sign Cousins for a year or two and then go draft J.J. McCarthy to go watch and learn for 2 years. By the time McCarthy got in and you began to watch his development, you'd only have about 2 years left with Jefferson, Addison, Hawkinson, and Darrisaw. I would rather the new guy, hopefully it's Drake May or Jaden Daniels, I would rather have one of those guys start the development clock right now. So let's say it's normal. They trade up, they get Drake May, baby. His year 1 can be this year. And then, they'll go 7-10, 8-9, some average rookie quarterback season. And then you'd have 3 years to build on that. My problem with bringing Cousins back is that you're only really going to have about 2 years to start. And so in 2026, hey, we're going with Drake May. All right, we're going to go 8-9. Then we got 1 year to win it all before you have to pay Addison, before Hawkinson's going to be at that point 31. And then everything will be dwindling down. Kind of like the Bills window closed last night for all of the mega bucks. That is my top argument, is I want to start the let's win this thing in the next 4 years window now, and that would involve the hypothetical rookie quarterback starting his development on the field in 2024. Number 5, and this one kind of gets swept under the rug, is Kwesi Adolphus and Kevin O'Connell's job security will become suspect in 2024 if they go 7-10 again. Do they really want to attach their first time employment at the big job, general manager and head coach, to Kirk Cousins over and over again? This one bleeds into my prediction part when I start to think, God, are they gonna bring Cousins back? Because if they do that, and that alone, God forbid, and they don't even draft a quarterback, they are fully attaching their job security to this quarterback. Just like it's happened to Mike Zimmer. He even, like, as a prophet, said when Cousins was signed, well, whatever he does is going to determine if I get fired or not. And ultimately, yeah, that was kind of true. So I think it would be bizarre for two young progressive thinkers to say, you know what, we're only going with Cousins again, and he's going to determine whether or not we succeed at our first big try at this. So I just find it odd that would happen without drafting a quarterback in a competitive rebuild. Because what would you really have rebuilt if you just keep re-upping with Cousins? I know the roster has undergone significant overhaul, but I think all Vikings fans, especially the ones that say, hey, the team keeps running it back, I think they look at the billboard, they see Cousins, and they're like, oh, same thing. They're running it back with the same guys over and over. And then that's the next one and this is kind of piggybacking off the last one, is at some point you run the risk. If you bring Cousins back, again, year 7, you risk doing the same thing over and over, knowing damn well that it'll be really cool if they finish 11-6 and win a playoff game, and then that would kind of be the ceiling. Now, if they in their heart of hearts believe, hey, we're winning the Super Bowl if we get Cousins or we bring him back, then I can buy into that. They really believe it. Let's give it a shot. But if you take a step back and you look at this, they're doing the same thing at the sport's most important position, the Vikings, over and over. And it would be going into year 7 with 2 playoff appearances and 1 playoff win. So I just think it's a little odd that we're doing the same thing over and over. This seems like a natural split point to say thanks for all your time. Why don't you go try to win with those Falcons? The next one, number 7, this is a deep quarterback class. If we had been doing the show in 2020, well, we were doing the show in 2022. I think we got off the ground in March of that year. That was the draft class that had Kenny Pickett, Malik Willis, and Sam Howell. Ended up Brock Purdy was the only stud there, and he was Mr. Irrelevant. Thank God Kwesi Adolphus didn't strut into Minneapolis and say, we're done with Cousins, we're getting a new quarterback in this draft, because there was no good ones besides Purdy, and that was, sheer luck. So Kwesi would have been forced to draft Kenny Pickett or Malik Willis, and where would we be if we did that? This quarterback class on paper is not like that. It's the opposite. It's the one that folks have been salivating over for about 2 years. It's a very deep draft class. So wouldn't you know it? Your free agent quarterback, bad Achilles, going to be 36. You're staring at a draft class that's really deep, that's almost begging you to draft the quarterback. So you have a litany of options, rookie options to choose from. Not every quarterback draft is this deep. I know there's always this, hey, wait until next year when you see all these rookies. Yeah, we say that every year, but it means something this year. This is a deep quarterback class, and we're at a pivotal, foundational spot where the Vikings probably need a quarterback of the future. All right, winding down here. This one's short and sweet. It's just time. It's just time to try something else. Cousins has been wonderful for the Vikings, the second leading touchdown pass thrower of all time for the Vikings next to Fran Tarkenton. I think when you rest on your laurels, and there's a lot of the anti-Cousins crowd that's been saying this for a few years, that I happen to agree with now. It's just time to move on. Before I stumbled into this Vikings writing career, I was a manager in different capacities, a district manager, a retail manager, all kinds of management stuff, and you always had to shake things up and try different stuff. You had to be bold enough to try. If you failed, at least you tried. You could learn from it, and I just feel we're at a spot where it's just time. Number 9, and this one's ultra important too. This draft spot, it isn't fabulous. It's not, oh my gosh, they got the 3rd overall pick. They're guaranteed to get Jaden Daniels if they want him. But for where the Vikings usually draft, 11th is pretty damn high. If you bring Kirk Cousins back for a year or two, you're probably not going to draft this high again. Does that make sense? Like, if the plan is to bring Cousins back, you're probably going to go 10-7, hopefully 13-4 again, win some playoff games, maybe even the Super Bowl. But this is, in my opinion, a golden opportunity at the 11th spot. Whether you chill there and draft Michael Penix, J.J. McCarthy, Bo Nix, or you use that 11th pick as trade bait. We want to get up to number 2 with the Commanders and get Drake May. With Cousins employed as QB1, barring another huge injury, you're never going to get this high in the draft again. It was because of Cousins' injury that the Vikings finished 7-10 and had the best of both worlds. They had an exciting season where they flirted with a playoff berth all the way up through Week 18. But then when it was all said and done, they ended up getting the 11th pick, which is pretty awesome to be able to balance both of those. I don't think that they will be able to get the 11th pick that high again if Cousins is back. So why not? Maybe even if you have to do both. If you absolutely must re-sign Cousins and then use this 11th pick finally on a quarterback. But I just think it's unlikely that we would be doing the show 1 year from now and have the 11th overall pick unless Cousins got hurt. And then the final one is just kind of a footnote that I've been thinking about for a while when trying to decide what I think is the best path for the future. Quarterbacks rarely start winning Super Bowls with a new team in the Vikings here, or just in general at age 36. The only ones that come to mind are Elway at the end of his run with the Broncos. Yeah, he won 2 to finish out his career. Do we really think Cousins and Elway are in the same conversation? Probably not quite. Peyton Manning, he was in, his 8th season with the Colts when they got off the schneid and beat the Bears. But as a rule of thumb, usually the guys that are winning Super Bowls are either the Hall of Famers like Brady or now Mahomes, of course. Otherwise, they're quarterbacks somewhat fresh in their system. You usually don't sign a free agent in 2018, and then that guy decides in his 7th season it's time to lead this team to a Super Bowl. There is not a whole lot of historical precedent for that, and I don't think that the Vikings are the type of team that would start busting historical precedents when they're winning Super Bowl. So I think of course, anybody watching the show knows that is the ultimate objective. That's the only reason you watch a show like this is to win a Super Bowl. And I find it more likely that would happen in the first 5-6 years of Drake May's career than in the twilight of Kirk Cousins. It seems unlikely to me that a 36-year-old on a bad Achilles would start winning Super Bowls in his 7th season with his 2nd team, if that makes sense at all. All right, so there you have it. Achilles injury, age-related decline is a risk. The budget suggests that you can sign more dudes if you don't have Cousins 35 or 40 million on the books. You're going to have a window where you can pair all of these offensive weapons. I'd rather have that quarterback mature and develop inside the window rather than the final 2 years. Kwesi and Kevin O'Connell's job security depends on this. We'd be doing the same thing over and over if we re-up with him. This quarterback draft class is deep. Ultimately, it's just time to try something different. You're not going to find the 11th pick in the draft, probably again with Cousins as your QB1. And then I just don't know if a guy in the 7th year of this team would start all of a sudden, snap of 2 fingers, winning Super Bowls. All right, I know a lot of you are going to disagree with these takes, so let me know in the comments, and we'll be back probably tomorrow or Wednesday to go through more off-season stuff. Skol, baby.